4, 5.
Good gaming morning to you. Whether you're tossing dice, flipping pages, stroking that brush, or mashing them buttons, we have your 6 on everything gaming. I am Loki, Michael Smith, and to my right, my
Eddie
partner.
Jakes.
And this is Basement Quest, as always. And last week we brought you the first of what we were calling our AD&D, our D&D 5th edition and Palladium guides to specific classes.
Yeah, you don't want to call it AD&D.
No, I don't.
Someone will get upset.
I'll trigger. Rogered.
Yep.
So this week we're going to break down magic classes for you. More specifically, the wizard. And there are many incantations or their elements, if you were. I will include the warlock also in this, just because
Palladium does.
Yeah.
So they call them men of magic.
Right. Exactly. So pretty much every base of magic we're going to be touching up on as far as 5th edition and everything else is concerned. Last week I started the show with my guys, so let's open the show with Palladium.
All right, so Palladium, like they do with the fighter class, where they call them men at arms, they call them men of magic, and they vary. You do have the traditional wizard, which is pretty much a straight incantation type spell magic. They have there's like a whole section of the ways of magic here. So you have the wizard, you have which is pretty much your I don't think there's too much difference between your standard magic user in D&D and the wizard in Palladium. There's not too much different.
I was gonna say for D&D, I mean, obviously you have the sorcerer who actually calls upon the magics of the world around them, and a wizard actually uses the spell book, and so there is slight differences on how they say invoke the magic.
So one thing with Palladium wizards is they're able to use what's called circle magic, where you physically draw circles and you kind of conjure things, which does take time. Obviously, this isn't like traditional combat-based magic, but one thing I love about Palladium is they have all these circles actually drawn out in the book for you, so you know exactly what you're using. It describes them in detail, and you can learn different ones as you go.
That is pretty cool.
They can use symbols and wards. So, defensive type magic, enchanting doors, things like that with symbols, and, wizards are good for that. It's a kind of a well-rounded type magic user, even though there are some more specific ones. The wizard can convert a spell scroll. I think they're one of the only ones that can. There might be one other one. There is a magic user in this system that they don't recommend players play, but they're in there for game master purposes.
It seems like they threw a couple of those things in there.
Yeah, they do. So I believe it's the alchemist. They don't recommend the alchemist as a player character because the alchemist it's the foundation.
A magic maker, essentially.
It's the foundation for all magic weapons in a game. So to have a player be an alchemist,
you're like, oh hey, I'm just going to build that plus 10 destroyer of worlds.
Yeah, it's like, so we have a mission for you. You need to go to this mountain and retrieve this magic sword, and you're like, bitch, I'll just make it.
I'm going to make it.
I'm just going to make it.
But, how long does that take? About a month? Okay. I'm going to take a month off. I'll be back, guys.
I just need to sacrifice one person. You didn't like your player, right? Stab him in the throat. There's penalties for unsuccessful conversion. So the thing with magic and Palladium is there can be consequences for failed, enchantments, which I think is great for the game.
Well, it adds that's what if, what could happen if I could be saving the world, but also if I fail miserably, I could be hurting a lot of people.
One thing I love about the Palladium system is they give the game master kind of has agency to give players spells.
Right.
So you don't necessarily go up in levels and get spells. You can actually learn new ones. So a successful adventure be like, okay, the king has instructed his wizard to teach you how to do this, and you can learn how to do that. So it's all game master.
So Palladium, what would you recommend be your key attributes? What would you like to put your points into, sort of say, when you're building a wizard in Palladium?
Well, I will tell you. So there are minimum requirements. Like, you do need to have a higher intelligence. Mm-hmm. Obviously, you don't necessarily have to have higher physical skills. Where's the requirements? Got to go through the book. So you need an IQ of at least 10 or higher. They do recommend a high physical endurance, but
Makes
it's not a
sense.
requirement.
I mean, you're channeling magic
Right,
through your body, so
because energy points is actually a very important factor of Palladium, what they call PPE and all
yeah,
that.
I like their magic system. I do
Yeah.
like their magic system, to be honest with you.
Right. So it's very, very important that your body be able to take the pounding of conjuring spells, because you don't really think about like the wreck you're going to do to your body,
Right.
letting all this magic, some of it evil,
A
some of
good,
it's pure evil,
I was
even
going
if
to
you're
say
a good character.
good point on that is for you Dragonlance readers out there, Raceland. What he did when he really started becoming that powerful that sorcerer, look what it did to his body. His twin brother, that was the fighter, and I always forget his name. It started with whatever, but he was beef,
never. I was never a Dragonlance fan,
but
actually.
But it's just the same thing. You could see what the magic did to him, and for most wizards, I mean, heck, even look when Gandalf the Grey turned into Gandalf the White. You know, it aged him. It brought him forward. Like, yeah, he became more powerful, but he also it did a toll on his body as well. You know.
Yeah, and he couldn't remember a lot of things too. He had memory loss.
Yep.
But that's the meat and potatoes of the wizard, really.
Obviously,
armor.
What race would you recommend in the Palladium world?
The wizard, I believe. Well, the races are broken down in the actual races. We covered some of it. Pretty much any race, I think, except for some of the minor ones. Like, I don't think troglodytes can be wizards.
Makes sense. They're not really born in. I mean, they probably have them out there. Witch doctors.
I think the dwarves. I think they said the dwarves are skeptical on magic, even though I think you can be.
No, I remember that. Yeah, the dwarves.
You can be some magic character, but I don't think it was a wizard.
Right.
But probably the best ones, obviously, is human, elf, and I believe changelings can be wizards as well. They would be a good one. But if you're just starting out, wizard is probably the best one to start with. Human characters are always easier to play.
Right.
Plus, human or elf.
Yeah, they're usually pretty vanilla, but they also grant you some pretty good bonuses.
Although I've always wondered, like, what it'd be like to be like a gnome wizard and see if you could not OP, but definitely jack up that character.
Right, exactly. So
that's part of the fun. It's part of the challenge. So,
all right. So I'm going to break down the beginning requirements pretty much for the D&D 5th edition wizard. Now, obviously, it's the same idea. Your constitution, which is your physical endurance in Palladium, is very important. Dexterity also plays a very good role in that because that's going to help you with your armor class, which isn't going to be that high to begin with. So that's going to be nice. Obviously, you want your intelligence. And some points, you might want to go towards wisdom. It depends on what you're going with for as far as your, with your abilities and which actual decision you want to go with your magic choices, because there are very many options in the 5th edition world. So you have gnomes. Gnomes are a good race to go with. Number one, they give you +2 to intelligence right off the bat, which you were just talking about, the whole making a gnome mage. I mean, that's no brainer right there. You also, a forest gnome also gets +1 to dexterity and a minor illusion. Rock gnomes get +1 to constitution. So if you wanted to do a rock gnome, you get the constitution and that +1 to intelligence. Plus he has a bonus history checks and everything as far as the alchemic objects. So it's not a bad choice to go with right there. I mean, heck,
no.
Elves, pretty much they'll grant you the +2 to dexterity. They're also automatically proficient in the perception skill check, which I forgot to mention last time when we broke down the races for fighters. Elves always have that. It's an instant perception check, just because the elves are so used to being out in the woods. They can't get jumped. They're big ass ears. However you want to put it, they're just used to being on the edge all time. So it's really hard to surprise an elf. So that's, if you want to go something like that, humans, obviously you get +1 to 2 of your abilities. So you could choose whatever you want. If you want to make it intelligence and dexterity, boom, right off the bat. Plus, don't forget, humans are the first ones to get any feats that they want. They get bonus feats. So you can take different things like history, lore, and all these other things to help you become a better sorcerer or a better magic user, if you will. And tiefling, of course, are one of the best ones out there. Those are the half demon, half devil, however you want to put them. They have +1 to intelligence. They also get free Thermagy, Hellish Rebuke, and Darkness spells. 3 of those spells must be cast using Charisma. So if you want to kind of use a tiefling, it's almost kind of beneficial to almost go with the Warlock, which I'll break down later, but it's not entirely impossible to pull it off in any other way. But a Tiefling does make an incredible warlock, which will go down. And last but not least, half-elves are a really good way to go. +1 to intelligence. They get the skill versatility, which gives them 2 proficiencies and extra 2 skills. Since wizards often rely heavy on knowledge, it's a good idea to have that backup too. So you get a little bonus from the elf, but you also get a little bonus from the human. You don't get as many feats as the bread and butter human, but that's what you get right there.
I should not to cut you off entirely, but a lot of the bonuses in Palladium come from the race before you even pick your OCC, so that's why it's not tapped in too much. So like you get a certain race is more apt to learn certain types of skills better because Palladium is very skill based.
It is. We were talking about that the other day of just exactly how skill based it actually is, and it's incredible. So I'll break into my first class, which is the I never fucking say this right. Abjuration class. It's a school of magic that blocks, banishes, and protects. At level 2, you get the Arcane Ward. It's used to create a magical ward around you. Hit points equal to your intelligence modifier up to +4. The ward becomes more powerful as you level. At level 6, you also get Protect Ward, which you move your Arcane Ward into one of your friends as a reaction, and you can actually protect them. So if I have my buddy here and he's a frontline fighter, and I want to take my Arcane Ward, which is a protection, it's pretty much adding AC to you. Now I'm taking my, say, armor classed out fighter at, like, say, I don't know, whatever he's got, and then I'm adding 4 more to that, or whatever it is at that level. I mean, you're talking 6th level at that point. So you're pretty much doing some Van damage right there. Or not Van damage, I'm sorry. You're protecting him from getting the Van damage on him. And real quick, I'll hit you with the next one, and then we'll go to you. Divination. It's pretty much gives you spells of disconcernment, remote viewing, and supernatural knowledge. Essentially, he's a supernatural bookworm, and he knows how to do that. Portent lets you roll 2d20s and record the result. You later replace the roll made by someone on the high roll. The roll is high. You use it to check yourself. It doesn't seem that way. And number 6 is expert divination. It allows you to regain extended spell slots when you cast a divination spell. So that's pretty good. You get a freebie spell back if you do decide to go down that route.
Well, Palladium has something similar. So Palladium has the Diabolist OCC, which is basically all word and ward magic.
Oh, cool.
So very simple. It can be used to cast spells on players, objects, rooms, things like that. Like I said, the wizard does some of that, but the Diabolist is pure, like you said, he's a bookworm.
Right.
He's a magic bookworm.
Right.
And the one thing that Diabolists are known for are the power words, more specifically, the 19 power words, which Palladium actually breaks down. I'm not going to try to pronounce some of them because
I see them. Yep.
Like
Ariel, simple words,
or King Earth. But they have the simple words, which evokes power, mystic. The devil words symbolizes evil and darkness. Demon lord symbolizes evil and darkness. A linking word like and or also.
He's like freaking Naruto.
Exactly. The elemental words of power, obviously earth, air, fire, water.
Yep.
Power words of force and old one. Most of these are names of the old ones, which is part of the Palladium lore. I'll say some of these. Egu, an old one. The word symbolizes life, birth, and rebirth. Urva, an old one, symbolizes death and darkness. Kim Narkmar, a dragon, symbolizes wisdom, power, and strength. Licktalon. I would never lick a talon.
I would try to stick away from that, yeah.
Especially, what is that poison dragon? The silver, or is it chromatic?
Chromatics, yeah.
They'd be poison. Lickiton, an elven wizard, symbolizes duality and knowledge. Locum, an angel, symbolizes transition, dimensions, and change. Nitosa, an old one, symbolizes suffering, undead, and eternity. Tau Bo, an exercise program created by Billy Blanks. No.
Yes.
Just kidding. An angel symbolizes love, peace, and serenity. Tarmkin To, an old one, which symbolizes pain, hate, and treachery. Xai, the great old one. The word symbolizes power incarnate. Ya Akhmet, an old one, symbolizes power and light. Yablik, an old one, symbolizes fear, betrayal, and pestilence. Diabolists also know the secret of runes, so they use some rune magic. which is basically little symbols put onto objects, which they can use to cast spells, attack, protection, things like that. The Diabolist is typically the only one who can actually read runes. So anyone else that looks at them, it's a bunch of gibberish, to them.
Right. Yep.
But the Diabolist can actually read them. It's
same idea. Yep.
Yeah, it's kind of an exclusive language, and they are also known like parchment that have runes on them become indestructible. So that's one little thing. The minute a Diabolist writes out runes on a piece of paper, that piece of paper cannot be destroyed. They can understand magic circles. They can't use them as much, I believe. Well, they can. They can use basic functions. They can learn that a circle is active, and they can try to understand it, but I don't believe they can use circles themselves. It's strictly a wizard thing. Mystic symbiology, so they can actually, if obviously you're in a dungeon, there's weird symbols. They can read some of that. They're very scholarly wizard class or magic class.
Yeah.
Obviously they can recognize magic. Simple. For this one you need a little higher IQ than a wizard. You need an IQ of 12 or higher, and also a high PD. Yeah. So you have to be really smart, and you get major bonuses to education type skills, scholarly skills, languages, and stuff like that.
Yeah, like I said, it's the skill level thing. That's Palladium's bread and butter.
And then there's a huge section on wards, how they work, immunity and stuff, and casting multiple wards. And then it actually shows you the rune symbols. So it's a pretty if you're gonna play a Diabolist, you're gonna do some reading.
Wow, yeah, you are.
Yeah, you're gonna do some reading, but I can't think of a more fun character class, honestly, if you're gonna do magic than the Diabolist.
It does seem like it's pretty freaking gnarly, actually.
And obviously,
I know when we did ours, I did the Warlock, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes. Which we'll get into that too once we compare them. But.
Yep. So the next two that I'll break down really quick for you. Enchantment. Everybody knows enchantment. Essentially, what it does is it lets you magically entrance other creatures. Essentially, it's just that. You're taking them over. You're controlling them. You're charming them, if you will. At level 2, you gain Hypnotic Gaze to stun your opponent who gets too close to you. And at level 6, you use Instinctive Charm to make your opponents hit their own allies instead of you. So that's like a true charm. So at like level 6, you're truly getting the ability to actually take over a monster or a person creature. Your Evocation. This is the school enhances your offensive elemental spells, such as that do frost, fire, or acid damage. At level 2, you get Sculpt spells. It helps prevent your area of effect spells from doing damage to your friends, which is huge, people. One of the biggest things that sucks about being a magic user is randomly throwing that fireball off and not counting the 6 squares that it explodes from or wherever from that impact point, and your buddy just so happens to be there to take splash damage from said fireball. Well, as an evocationist, you can actually take the ability away from the spell and actually let your partner see the spectacular explosion of the fireball and yet not be affected by it. At level 10, you get Empowered Evocation. It increases the damage done by all evocation spells. So, once again, frost, acid, fire. It's pretty much steroids for those spells, if you really think about it. And we'll go last but not least, because I think you have one of these too. Illusionist, which is what everybody pretty much associates trickery magic with, and pretty much the name says it all. School focuses on tricks, illusions, and trickery play. At level 2, you get Improved Minor Illusion. It lets you create an image, and it sounds like a single, it's pretty much usable as a single cast. At level 6, you get Malleable Illusion. It lets you change the nature of an illusion after it's already been cast, creating an even more realistic appearance. So you can almost think like Loki from the the Marvel Universe, how he can literally make a clone of himself, and it can act out, and it can literally die, and it feels like it's there. That's what you get at that level. You got your next one?
So the enchanter in Palladium would kind of roll into a combination of the wizard, and we also have what's called a summoner.
Yes.
Now the
You got summoners
summoner,
too. Yep.
the summoner is slightly different than the D&D one in the sense that the summoner is it's all circle magic really.
Mm-hmm.
So obviously the wizard does some circle magic. The summoner is pure circle magic. So they're like the experts of the
Right.
circle magic. So they do the circles, they do the ritual, things appear, they are summoned. So obviously some of that is like spread out within 2 classes. And I believe we also have another class. I don't know if you guys have a straight class for this. We have a witch.
There is. It's not said which sort of say, but in the warlock in the warlock class itself, there is a branch off from that. And
now, yeah, and Palladium even puts in a little thing saying these are fictional witches. These are not like the real witches. So I know if anybody's practicing Wiccan, this is not Wiccan.
No,
you know, these are the stereotypical TV evil witch thing. But the witches are they are comprised of natural magic, and they draw from powers of elements. The summoner, same thing, draws from power elements. They can create creatures. Where I lost them. Where they went? Where'd they go? Where'd they go? Where'd they go?
He lost his creatures.
I know, I lost them. Oh my god. You know, I thought having everything digital would be a good thing. It's not always.
See, that's why you got to put the bookmarks in, people.
Yeah.
Bookmark your shit.
I have them upstairs.
Bookmark your shit.
Come on. See, because it's like every magic user has like 80 pages of, all right, summoner, here we go. Back to the circles. So the summoner can be any alignment. They're not necessarily like an evil class or anything. Some of these classes are written just to be evil classes. That's why I say that. Even though Palladium doesn't have like pure good evil alignments.
Right.
But where's the requirements here? It's such a big section. Playing a summoner also requires a lot of reading. There's some of these magic systems, magic users that are just easy, kind of roll up the character and jump into it. Like the wizard is fairly easy.
Right.
Then once you get into the ones that focus on a specific type of magic, you're doing a lot of reading.
Yeah. Now keep in mind, this class that I'm just going over, like I said, once again, is just the wizard. I will break down both the summoner and the warlock as well today, because they are different classes in themselves. Yeah. It's not like the wizard. Like I said, if you pick the wizard, you're getting the wizard, and then you have these different. Like I said, you can have, abjuration, divination, enchantment, evocation. These are the different, say, classes that you can, or not classes. These are the different. I guess you'd call them schools. The different schools that a wizard would be able to use.
Yeah. So the summoner has pretty much the same requirements as a wizard. IQ of 10. The ME is 14 or higher, so it requires a lot more mental endurance than a lot of them.
That makes sense because you're pulling.
A high MA, PE, and physical beauty can also be helpful because a summoner does require a personality.
Yeah. Yeah.
You need a personality to be one. Pretty much, I think any intelligent class or race, any intelligent race character, humans, dwarves, gnomes, and all them, some ogres and stuff, I think can be a summoner. But most dwarves, again, in Palladium shy away from magic because they don't trust it. Doesn't mean you can't do it, but they don't trust magic because of they break down the history of that, and they didn't have a good time with it. A lot of protection spells with the summoner. So obviously protection from evil, ghosts, elemental forces, fairy folk. Protection from old ones I've always found interesting because the old ones are supposed to be like the ultimate power. So that the fact that
you can also think of it this way: protection from the old one's weapons, protection from like maybe there's an old one's dungeon or something that the magic is just residual and you would like say I don't know,
maybe, but see, it's comparable to like having a spell that's like protection from Odin.
Yeah, I can see
what
that.
I'm saying?
But if Odin makes a weapon, and I'm trying to get smited by this Odin said weapon, and I have protection from Odin,
I suppose. I know. Whatever. We'll let the dice decide. When all else fails, let the dice decide. There's a lot of fun stuff with this class too. Like I said, the circle art is interesting. You can like choose, how the direction you want to take your summoner in. But dang it, stupid Pinky. But that's basically. I'll break down the witch a little bit more in the next one.
Okay. And the last thing that I have with the last school that we have for the wizard is the necromancy, of course, aka death magic. Level 2, you get Grim Harvest, lets you suck away the life of a creature with him you kill within your first level higher spells. Obviously, you get it back. Level 6, Undead Thralls, lets you cast an inanimate dead on 2 corpses at once and lets you allow both of them to have hit points and damage as usual. So you can literally that's the fun part. I mean, we make jokes about one of our player characters, Jacob, all the time. He's messing. He's a warlock messing at this point with necromancy. So we make jokes with him all the time that he's just waiting for somebody to croak and
he wants to be
pretty much resurrect him. Yeah, he does.
He's looking for that office promotion to lich.
Yeah, exactly. And to break down every one of these schools, essentially, this is how it goes. At level 1, obviously, use catapult to fling heavy objects at enemies, magic missiles to hit them with magic darts. These are automatic hits. These are no-brainers. Cast sleep on some of them. Thunder wave, you can hit a whole bunch of people at once. Level 2, you can get misty step. Level 3, animate dead. Counterspell, haste, and Melf's meteor minute meters, which we've talked about, would be a good object, obviously, to roke up on there. So for your skills, you might want to think about, obviously, use Arcana to recall information about magic items and lore. History to understand, obviously, the world around you. Investigation allows you to actually follow trails, mysteries, get all the information that you're looking for a specific item. Maybe you're looking for spells and you want a little bit of background on that. You need that. Obviously, if you don't have a cleric in the party, you want religion. That's going to help you with a lot of different situations and a lot of scenarios. So you want to obviously be in tune with that. The feats that you want to think of are obviously, there are 4 exceptions: Warcaster, Resilience, Elemental Adept, and the Spell Sniper. The Spell Sniper is really good because it allows you to actually make sure you're never missing. And when it comes to that, so Warcaster gives you advantage on concentration checks, limited ability to cast a check such as that, so you can have up to a mathematical equation of a +5 if you do this right. Resilience gives you extra constitution. We've talked about the toll that magic has going through your body. So to have that extra bonus, it's not a bad idea to go with. Elemental Adapt, this is what I told you about. Essentially what it does, it allows you to have 2 dice, so you always have advantage for your spells. An advantage, you've played D&D, you know how advantages work. 2 dice, you take the best one. You cannot beat that. And the last thing I was telling you about, which is the Spell Sniper, doubles your range, makes your range spells ignore half cover, 3/4 cover, and gives you the extra spell damage all across the bones. You do not want to miss the opportunity. If you have somebody that uses fireballs or something like that, you want to make sure you get Spell Sniper without a doubt. It doubles your range, it triples the effect of the spell, and it makes sure that you're pretty much whacking the crap out of anybody that you hit. So that's one of the one of the ways you want to go. The spells, obviously, I can't go through every single spell. There are tons of them out there. You want to pretty much form your wizard around you. If you are an illusionist, you want to pick more spells that allow you to create your world better, your illusions better. If you're an invocationist, like we said, you want to get those spells that give you the wider range of what you're doing. All the objection where you're trying to protect your buddies, you want to get all these the bonus spells that'll help you. Obviously, you get a fireball spell here and there to do that damage, but if you're not that type of mage, it's not going to help you to go that route. Play to your abilities and play to the school that you chose.
Game master tip or dungeon master tip: throw your players a little bit of a bone, get them some idea of the environment they're going to play in. So, like, obviously, when we started your campaign, we knew it was going to be dark sunlight. Mm-hmm. And that at least gives them an idea how to choose their spells.
Right.
If they're going in blind and they're getting a bunch of dungeon crawling spells, and then you never take them into a dungeon,
it was waste of money, time, and effort on those spells.
Yeah. So throw them a bone and be like, hey, we're going to be in a very desert heavy area, so cater your character as if he's been growing up in the desert.
Exactly.
Or raised in the desert. And if they don't listen to you, it's on them. But
there you go. Then they wasted the money.
But throw them a bone. So
right.
like if people asked if I would ever run the Palladium fantasy game again, yes, I would, and I know exactly where it's going to be, and I would tell everybody, and people can pick their skills
do it
accordingly.
from there. All right, guys, we're going to take a quick break, and we'll be right back with our second part of this.
And we're back.
That was exciting.
Always exciting. So we are going to break down to some random classes, and I'm going to touch on the witch. We talked a little bit about it.
I'm going to follow up 5th edition sorcerer.
Yeah. So the witch, like I said before, this isn't your traditional Wiccan character. This is a dark. Yeah. But you can be both male and female. Doesn't matter. Exactly. Hardy har har. So the witch is an interesting character because they have a lot of history in the game itself. So
especially the way that magic is explained in this, it makes sense that they have a lot of history into it.
Yeah. Yeah. So the what Palladium has, they keep referring to throughout the books, which has always been, even if you don't play these games, they're great books to read. The Tristine Chronicles, they call them, where they actually highlight some of the history of the world. And
I remember hearing those.
Yeah, witches played a good big role in that. So obviously with the witch, a lot of it is natural type magic.
Mm-hmm.
But there's also allegiances to an evil being that they get their magic from. So there's a lot of that. It's deal with the devil kind of stuff.
Right.
So like I said, this is stereotypical Hollywood witch stuff. To become a witch, a character must make a pact with an evil supernatural force. These supernatural beings are usually powerful gods of darkness, demon lords, or an alien intelligence. Some say lesser cousins of slumbering old ones. If you play Rifts, there's a lot of evil intelligences. Vampires in the Palladium game answer to what's called the vampire intelligence, which is an alien intelligence. It's really fascinating, and they highlight that in one of the source books. I think it's
cool.
Western Empire. So Palladium vampires are kind of different than your normal vampires. They just have this natural pull. But getting slightly off topic, I just love the Palladium vampires.
He loves Palladium World.
I love Palladium World. Yeah, I'm gonna say. So the making the pact with these evil entities, you get the gift of power, and you get to select a few abilities. Basically however you want to cater your witch to. Witches are impervious to like toxins, poison, drugs, disease. You get to select one of these. Super tough, +2 to save, yada yada. The pact. The gift are powers that are provided as a result of an amicable arrangement. In most cases, the supernatural being cannot really take ownership of a person's soul, but will in effect encourage such evil and decadence that the character will be forever lost to the forces of light and may well become the enemy of all that is good. So you're not possessed by an entity, but you can't help but
be controlled a little bit by it.
For that power. Yeah.
Right. It's lure. It's too strong for you to resist.
You're basically, your lust for the power prevents you from not
good.
Exactly. It's total Sith Lord kind of stuff. There are some minor packs. 40 years of loyal servitude. The Devil's Mark, also known as the Mark of Evil, is the third nipple. Note that's nipple, not breast and nipple. The nipple can be placed anywhere in the body, but it's usually placed in the upper portion of the torso. This serves 3 purposes: to identify the character as a witch, as a sign of ownership by an evil force, and to feed the familiar, which suckles from the nipple, drinking of the witch's own blood. Small amounts, of course. All witches bear such a mark. Crazy, huh?
And then you get your demon familiar.
Yeah, you get a demon familiar. You have your which it gives you 8 attributes and everything. You can like roll it up, so that's a lot of fun with there. To be a witch, you have no attribute requirements, so anyone pretty much can roll up.
Anybody can be a witch.
Anyone can be a witch. You just have to make that pact with the devil per se, and you are a witch. And you're all evil. Apparently, all witches are evil, miscreant, aberrant, or diabolic. Remember, these are not people forcing a devil or demon to do their bidding for the good of others, or even for selfish reasons, but people who are joining demonic monsters as one of their faithful servants.
Right.
So, in all essence, when you think about it, you're playing a monster.
Yeah.
If you're a witch.
Yeah.
Okay. And obviously, I don't think there's any race requirements. The usual typical down the line. But if you're going to play a witch, which I think would be a lot of fun, It's a deliciously evil character, and you need to play it as such. There's no Glinda the Good Witch.
Right. Right. You are
Yes.
an evil bastard. You are an evil bastard.
Of course, the only way you can be killed is to have a house dropped on you.
Which is true.
Just kidding.
If you're playing in,
but that would be funny.
If you're playing in the Wizard of Oz campaign, this is the only way you can destroy one.
Yes, and most of the magic is there's a lot of summoning. There's commanding dead, commanding rats. Basically anything you could think from a witch, you could do. So it'd be a lot of fun to be. I don't know how you gotta be tough to play with a group of like you got 5, like 2 knights, a paladin, and a witch.
Yeah. That would not be a good fucking campaign. Yeah. That would end up ugly.
Well, maybe if the witch,
I think the paladin would probably end up smiting the witch in the end of that.
I think actually if the witch was a prisoner, it's like we're bringing this witch to the kingdom of so and so. That'd make an interesting game.
It would be. I mean, because then you'd have to release the witch to help you because you get murdered.
This is where you get creative with you.
See, we talked about this.
A lot of good times.
All right, so I'm going to break down the sorcerers for you. Essentially, sorcerer is it's a challenge. It's a challenge to do. You don't have the versatility that the wizard has, but you have more slots than the warlock has. You also have pretty much what's known as it's meta magic. They use the ability to pretty much boost their own spells and stuff like that. So if you're accustomed to using a wizard, expect a lot of low-level spells using high-level slot spells as much as you get your limited spells known. Like I said, it's a sorcerer pretty much is a blaster, a controller, a striker, and a utility caster. That's what you can expect a sorcerer to be. That's what you can expect your sorcerer class to be. The wizard is a powerful tool in a wizard pretty much has a tool for every situation. If you know what you're doing, the spell lists that's ability and the abilities welcome to a wizard allow them to have a better, say, jack of all trades sort of thing than the summoner, a sorcerer does. The sorcerer has to pretty much be prepared, and you have to be ready. You have low hit points. That's obviously with all wizards.
It's pretty much, I think most magic users are going to be low on hit points. Yeah. So you don't want to get hit too much.
Exactly.
And you want to keep your cleric close.
Saves. Constitution and Charisma are 2 excellent saves, things that you want to kind of boost up their proficiencies. No armor, no shields. The most basic weapons, but the sorcerer list can contain pretty much things like insight and stuff like that. So you're not going to be a heavy hitter in the weapons department, but you are going to be a heavy hitter in the spellcasting department. Spellcasting, this is where you obviously are the big thing. Same way the bard does, you have a set number of spells that are known into slots. This means a sorcerer always will have fewer options available to them to the wizard. However, they make up for the lack of versatility, being able to augment the spells with the meta magic that I was telling you about. Essentially what they can do is they boost their spells. They make it more powerful. You also have sorcerer points. These points fuel the sorcerer's ability, allows the classes to do a lot more than just casting spells. You have a limited pool per day, which I think they kind of almost draw off of Palladium in that aspect. I like when they do these pool point ideas. It gives you a little bit more versatility. You don't have to sort of say what they say, learn your spells. You have the ability to call upon these different spells to pull them out there.
Can I interject a little bit? So that's very similar to something Palladium has. So with Palladium magic users, they have the ability, they use like the points, the potential psychic energy points and all that. One of the abilities that most magic users have, I think if not all of them, is the ability to draw energy from the group.
Yes.
So if the players willingly sacrifice some of their points, they can give it to their magic user friend, and they can continue to cast spells. You also have, if you're evil, you can take them, but it's kind of like it's almost like psychic combat at that point.
Right.
Or there's also a blood ritual, which you like sacrifice somebody and you take all their energy or something like that. And so there's different ways to use the entire group's energy in your magic user there, and it does. it does put the group at risk if you're fighting a monster that feeds on that kind of stuff. But other than that, it adds a little more cooperation to the game.
The biggest difference you're going to notice about a sorcerer as opposed to a wizard, your main attribute is going to be charisma, unlike wisdom. Strength, dump it. You don't want to throw anything into that. Obviously, your dexterity to help you a little bit with your AC. Your constitution, you want to kind of bump up because, like we said, magic does a lot to the body, and having those extra hit points because you already have no hit points to begin with.
You're going to get hit with magic.
Yeah.
Like magic weapons.
Intelligence and wisdom is not a bad thing to dump into because it gives you protection against these wizard spells. So, charisma, wisdom, intelligence, dexterity, maybe some constitution, stay the heck away from strength.
Unless you're Rob, in which case your magic user looks like Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Eladrins are awesome for sorcerers because they get charisma bonuses and free teleportation. Half-elf, obviously, big charisma bonus. Humans, like we said before, humans, especially in the 5th edition, you gain so much for being a human. You can add, I've said it before, +1 to any attribute you want, and then you get the skill package bonus where you can just take feats and upon feats and just make your human like superhuman. He really is superhuman. Verdin, they get a constitution charisma bonus. That helps you if you want to go with that one. And that's about, I would say, it with that aspect. I wouldn't go any, maybe gnome. No, gnome's more intelligent. Yeah, so I would stick with those races that I just gave you. And then I'll break into the first class. The first class, and I will let you, you'll grab that one. So subclasses, and this is once again, D&D 5th edition, you just don't have your class, you have these subclasses that you break down into. Your Divine Soul, if you can't decide between playing a Divine Caster or an Arcane Caster, you play a Divine Soul. The Divine Soul has access to cleric magic skills. So essentially what it is, it's like having a backup cleric out there for anything else that you might need or might have a chance of having. It's a good way to make sure that your party is well-rounded if you don't have a cleric out there. And then I'll do this last one and we'll let you take over. Draconic Bloodline. You want to use an elemental adapt feature. Draconic Sorcerer is probably the best choice out there. As a sorcerer already infuses its powers with these meta magics, as it's called, the Draconic Bloodline calls upon the ancestors of your bloodline and really jumps out the powers. So your choice of ancestor only matters mechanically for the energy type that you're speaking of. That said, you want to pick an energy type which is frequently played with a lot of the spells options and the element affinity. Just for an option here, cold, a few less options than fire and lightning. However, if you took fire, by one of the most powerful spells out there, it's also one of the things that you can become more resistant to. So in its aspect, you gain affinities for bonuses, you gain resiliencies to these said ones, and you get this thing at higher levels, the ability to fly. You literally get dragon fucking wings. So that's not a bad way to go.
No. The only last thing I'm going to touch on is a class that the players can't play,
which I think is really cool.
Yeah. So there is a class that is not an OCC that's available to players. There's rules for making them. You could probably let a player do it, but I highly advise against this.
Because we were making a joke off camera about it.
Making a joke. This is the Alchemist. And the Alchemist is basically where magic weapons and such come from. So they are, I would call them like the manufacturer class of magic.
Yeah. I mean, essentially, yeah.
Basically,
they're the Keebler elves.
You can be an elf. The Alchemist is a non-playing character class, meaning it's not an OCC. However, this fellow can be a valuable and fun tool for Game Master. So one thing I like about Palladium is they give you little things where you as a Game Master could play a character per se, and this is one of them. The Alchemist is a sort of magic specialist and broker. Buying, making, and selling magic items, including scrolls, potions, powders, magic armor, magic weapons, holy weapons, flaming swords, and all sorts of magic charms, fumes, herbs, poisons, and paraphernalia. Likewise, most alchemists are willing to teach wizards low-level spells for a price and sell or exchange information, lore, ideas, theories, and rumors about magic items, local figures of importance, and supernatural creatures. Most cities and many large towns are likely to have at least one alchemist shop or a resident alchemist. The prices are often steep, but the product is worth the price. So basically, this is your. So you're playing Final Fantasy, and you go into that shop. This is that guy in the shop.
Yep.
So you're playing that guy in the shop, the one that says the same thing over and over again, and they call them NPCs. And they have one thing I love about this has complete rules for creating an alchemist shop. Weapons and armor, same as the wizard. This is hand-to-hand stuff, same as a wizard. They can fight, so you could make an alchemist that you don't fuck with.
Yeah.
Which,
well, especially he's making the weapons.
Yeah,
he's making the fucking weapons, the rings, the protections, all that stuff. You ain't getting through that.
Yeah, keep in mind. So you don't want to mess with a guy that might have what they call it, demon in a bottle. This is my latest thing, demon in a bottle. Let me show you. And the demon comes out. And you're like, okay, stop the demon. I was like, oh, I'm sorry. I just broke the bottle. I didn't read the directions. But and they are like restricted by level. So if you have a certain level of characters, you can make a certain level alchemist, so you get appropriate equipment, appropriate spells, magic, because you don't want to start giving them big level 10 magic and they're like level 2 characters.
Right.
One, the player character probably can't use it for one, and two, they become OP on the player side, which in my opinion is just as bad as on the DM side.
Yeah, I remember hearing about a campaign. The sons, the main characters in it, one was a son of Loki and the other one was a son of Thor, and they just went on a tear. They just had way too much, way too many abilities, way too much going on with them. And as a DM, you have to be careful with that as well, or as a GM, you have to be careful with that as well, of not giving the player that much control and that much power, because then you have to really break down the world and make it more accessible to the others around him. And then all of a sudden you find out that these guys are slacking, and then you make up for it. Next thing you know, you have a god campaign on your hands, and you want to end that quick.
Yeah, definitely. That's when you should probably retire your characters, which we might talk on a future episode about retired characters that we bring back every now and then just for fun. This thing This thing I really like. The alchemist can make transformable weapons, similar to magic marbles of transformation, except that instead of marble, the item can be just about any type of passive object, such as a belt, cape, cloak, walking stick, cane, staff, and so on. So they could create these totally innocuous objects, and they could be magic weapons. So obviously a cane could be a sword, magic sword, and stuff like that. So that's a lot of fun. Cost would be 20,000 gold, so that's expensive. Yeah. They are able to make rune weapons. So if you are using the Diabolist, the alchemist can make rune objects for you and stuff like that. They can make soul drinkers, which are the greater weapons that possess all 8 abilities, 2 greater power characters, plus the ability to drink souls, absorb life essence. Cost 40 to 120 million credits. Sometimes more. So that's
the most powerful weapon. So
yeah. This is just giving and holy weapon. So if you're playing a paladin, the alchemist,
and like I said before, rings, potions, rewards, the whole nine. He pretty much collects.
It's all there. Magic fumes, magic powders, magic snuff. Fumes. So they have stuff that you can snort. And will cast magic.
You gotta snort it.
Yeah, and then there's like complete rules for making the shop. I love it. It's great. Just one little fun extras on the extra in the book. And what you got?
So we'll follow up after obviously the Draconic Bloodline. You have Shadow Magic, powerful and versatile, good mix of all the abilities. Shadow Magic Bloodline is at its best in the dark. Who would have thunk? Even in areas of bright light, the magical darkness rules will give you a massive tactical advantage, except anyone who's actually of the Warlock or the Devil's Invocation, because they'll see right through your bullshit. Eyes of the Dark, it's pretty much dark vision, pure dark vision. And I will tell you, and anybody will tell you, there's nothing better than dark vision. Dark vision is pretty much exactly that. It's pure. It's like seeing in the light. Strength of the Grave. Keep you going. It's pretty much if you drop the bit by an attack, it does a lot of damage, but against abilities that deal a lot more damage at once, like breath weapons and stuff like that. Hound of Ill Omen, even at the higher levels, when a dire wolf stat block won't be threatening, forces disadvantages. Shadow Walk, which is essentially that shadow, you'd be able to pretty much teleportation. Umbrum Form, and that's a cheap little essentially invisible. So this guy This guy is exactly that. He's a stealth mage. We'll break it down like that. Storm sorcerer. This is the same thing. So this guy is essentially invokes the elements, winds, temptation magic, storms, storm guy, storm furies, and wind soul. So wow, actually looks like at a higher level you get this thing called wind soul, and you can grant flight for your entire party at no cost and without concentration.
Very nice.
So yeah, you're a controller. You're pretty much controller of the winds. You're controlling different tempests, such like that. Wild magic. Now this is an interesting one. We've actually brought this up a few times. I want to see somebody play this because it's exactly that. It's unpredictable. It's unreliable, and it is very ineffective. But it's a lot of fun. So here it is. So if you can actually survive this whole min-max situations, it will add some zaniness to your game. Wild magic surge. If your DM forgets to ask you this roll, it doesn't matter. Essentially what it is you got to roll every time you do a spell, and there's a small chance that something catastrophic could happen. So you always have to roll this surge when you do a spell. You can't do it. Tides of Chaos. Use this attacks when it's an absolute waste, but it's great for savings throws, and it can save your life. And it essentially allows you to reroll a failed saving throw. Bend your luck. When your allies fails a save against death by 2 or 1, it's heartbreaking. Spend the sorcery points to bring them back to life. So nice. You can bend anything though. It doesn't just have to be a death savings throw. It could be a modification for a roll. So you literally take your sorcerer points, and you say, "Whoa, what did you fail that by? 1 point? Nope. Here's my sorcerer point. You hit that now, buddy, or you live." And spell bombardment. This one is it's pretty much the biggest die I use for the spell damage is D10. So on an average, you get 5.5 additional damage on all those spells. What it does is it takes that spell, slices it in half, gives you that bonus, so you can essentially walk away with doing 15 points on, say, an otherwise D10. That's just one D10, though. So if you have, say, 5 D10, now all of a sudden that turns into 15, 30, 45, 60, 75 points of damage, which normally would have only been 50 points of damage. So nice little thing to go with on that one. Move. Right, exactly. Yeah. Exactly. And then that's going to be pretty much, like I said, we can break down all the spells for you guys, but we'll be here pretty much forever.
You got to buy the book.
Yeah, you really have to.
You got to buy the book.
You have to have the book essentially for that. Multi-classing, I will say. I told you with the fighter thing. I think fighter is the only one that really has a really good turnout to actually do a multi-class. But if you're going to do something with them, I would recommend probably Warlock, just to give you that extra bonus, and maybe Bard. But I wouldn't go with it.
You can multi-class a Palladium, but you got to stop one and do the other.
Exactly.
I think with what they offer with some of the base OCCs, you don't really need to multi-class. I think you can have a lot of fun with the Warlock. You can have a lot of fun with the Diabolist. You can have a lot of fun with the Witch.
Right.
So, I mean, and I think, honestly, with a Witch, it'd be out of character to change midway because you've made a deal with a demon.
Yeah.
So
you're pretty much made the deal with the devil.
So the demon's going to look at you and be like, "Are you moonlighting?
What are you doing, buddy?
You are a full-time associate."
So sorcerers, you really only need charisma, which is a nice... That is the one bonus thing about sorcerers is everything is based on charisma. So if you roll an absolute blah of a character, you can still make a decent sorcerer. You're going to be playing the backlines a lot, obviously, because of that. But the biggest thing is when you have feats like the Draconic Bloodline and stuff like that, you can upgrade your abilities. I can't stress this anymore. We've said it since we started making these guides. The character is your character, your scenario, your world. When we're doing these guides, we're just simply giving you a simple suggestion of how these characters are, what you need to have them rolled and played. Now, if you would like further in depth, say if we sparked a little something in your eyes and you're like, "Oh, well, can you explain this a little bit more to me?" Absolutely. Drop us a comment or reach out to one of us into our private messages or something like that. We'd be more than happy to strike up a conversation with you and actually maybe even break down some of our favorite spells that we would rock with that. Because I do have, with an invocation illusionist or something like that, you don't want to, like I said, go with fireballs and lightning spells. You want to be able to work on your bonuses and your benefits. Because don't forget, when you take that class, when you specialize in that one school, you get bonuses for using those school spells. So yes, you can go outside of your school. Yes, you can have that thunderbolt that you want, or that fireball that you want, or that magic missile that you really, really want. But you don't want to go outside of what your school is. You want to stay within your school, and you want to stay within those spells and within that area of your expertise to make yourself a better wizard or a better sorcerer.
And understand, like, certain alignments fit better with certain characters as well. So obviously, like I said, Glinda is not a good witch in the Palladium. You're gonna need an evil alignment. So I think with the Diabolist, you need a selfish alignment. Play that character out. The Warlock. Anytime you have a magic user that's using dark magic, keep that in mind. I mean, you could be lawful evil, or in aberrant, as they call it in.
But
Palladium,
it's still evil.
But you're still evil. So you got to play that type. I mean,
exactly.
You're an anti-hero magic user at that point.
Exactly.
Now, obviously, you can be a wizard or a sorcerer, and obviously you can play a very good character. So keep that in mind. The type of alignment you want to be when you're picking your magic user class. So don't pick one with the intention of being a hero if you're really supposed to be an asshole.
Right, exactly. That's a very good point too. Very good point.
Because we give points for playing characters out.
Exactly, and I think
take them away.
Should.
Take them away if they don't.
Yep, exactly. Touche, my friend. You are absolutely right. All right, guys, we're gonna wrap this up for you. Next week, we're gonna be breaking down clerics, and I think we're gonna do rogues.
We can do some rogues. I gotta do there's psychic character classes in Palladium, so I'm gonna roll that into that because there's not like a pure cleric.
Exactly.
They use a psychic healer. And I'll do some quick hits on some of the extra classes in some of the other books.
Yeah, so we have clerics and we have rogues coming for you for 5th edition, and then we have the size, and we have the other one for Palladium coming at you.
Yeah, there's some extra classes. I may throw in a couple extra fighter classes just to like.
He's got to find Warlock too. We couldn't find Warlock today. So
yeah, I think
we'll find Warlock for you guys, and we'll toss that one in there too. So look for Warlock as well in the next Palladium. As a matter of fact, I still have to break down. Maybe we'll save Warlock for when I break down Warlock in 5th edition because I'm not, So yeah, actually, let's do that. Let's do Warlock and Cleric next week.
Warlock, Cleric.
So Warlock, Cleric, 5th edition. Yeah. There you go. And then he'll have his Psy and he'll have his Warlock, and we'll break it down from that. And we're still working on some great content for you guys. We have so much looking forward to. Drop those likes.
Subscribe. Hit the bell. Thumbs up. Share with a friend.
Yes, please do that. And like we said, reviews are the biggest thing out there that we can't ask any more of you from that. That is the biggest compliment that you can give us is the review.
And the fastest way to make sure the show grows.
And if it grows, we can get more exciting content for you guys, which we have planned. And I have the rough details for our nice little heroic holodeck main event going on. I'll be bringing it over to Ed and running it down, and we're hoping, like I said, by April we should be having our first one. I'm super excited about this.
He's giddy.
I am.
I haven't seen him this giddy in 20 years.
And look for also, it should be dropped by today. You guys won't be hearing this because we're always a week ahead. But be looking for the 40K battle that we just had with my son, Jake and Brian. It was a huge battle. That's going to be fun. That was my return with the Blood Angels. Eldar versus a huge robot, evil, dead, necrotic army in the Necrons.
Yes, and look out. I got a book review coming out. I just finished reading a book that'll... Empire of Imagination, the Gary Gygax story there. I just finished reading that. I'm going to give you a review. And
anything, you guys, you have any requests, anything you would like, hit that comment. Let us know. Let us know how we're doing, like I said. And we're going to keep coming back at you. We'll see you guys next week for Warlocks and Clerics 5th edition, Size, and Warlocks Palladium.
Good day and good gaming.
Good gaming. Get out there and game.